Hi, it's Suzanne. Welcome to the presentation. We're going to start with the class on natural fibers, and I'm going to shoot for 15-minute segments on these videos so that they are easier for you to download. Again, if you have any issues downloading, hearing the video, contact me. We'll figure it out. Want you to make sure that you can access all this information. Okay, so the purpose of this course is to help you learn how to identify high quality and well-made garments rather than trying to memorize every single brand. When you're out there sourcing, it's really hard to look up everything on your phone. That is the ideal way to figure out what something is worth or what it could sell for on eBay. But being realistic, sometimes this is just not possible. You may be shopping at the Goodwill outlets and it's just too crazy in there to stop and look things up, or you're getting stuff so cheap, it's okay if you make a few mistakes. Um, you may not have good phone reception in a certain store, or you may just be self conscious about looking things up wherever you are shopping. So, learning the signs of a well made garment is going to help you source better, and no one can know all of this. New brands hit the market all the time. So, no matter how long you've been selling, or no matter how long you've been in the fashion industry, you just can't know everything. There's just too much information. So, the better way to learn to recognize high quality clothing is to look at how it's made, what it's made of, rather than trying to memorize every single label. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to focus on learning the characteristics of a well-made garment. Then you can recognize quality even if you don't know the brand. So let's start with natural fibers. These are just what it sounds like, fibers that come from plants and animals. They occur in nature. They are not man-made or synthetic. And natural fibers have a rich history going back thousands of years. So none of this is anything new that's just been invented. It's been around a while. These fibers are durable, breathable, comfortable, but can be expensive because of the way they're processed. So we're going to talk about alpaca, camel hair, cashmere, cotton, linen, silk, and wool, and also Angora and mohair. They're not quite as expensive as the others, but they are a natural fiber, and we'll go over that. So let's start with the alpaca. Aren't they cute? I'd like to have one for a pet. um, they are native to South America, mainly Peru, and it's because it's a mountainous area and alpacas do well at high elevations and in harsh climates. 80% of the world's alpacas are in Peru. So this is definitely their home and where they originated. Raising alpacas is a family business for many Peruvian families. This is how they earn their living. So it is a big, big industry there. Um, it is starting to become that in the United States. Over the last 20 years, there's been a resurgent, or a lot of farms coming up that raise alpacas for the wool. So it is spreading outside of this area. I think because the animals are small, they're the same size category as sheep and goats, so they're easier to handle than a big animal, and so they kind of fit into that the farming of the United States and the way we do things here. Now, the alpaca is a cousin of the llama and the camel of the family Camelid. They are much smaller than a llama, and they are bred specifically for the wool, not as a pack animal like llamas and camels. So a different reason that they are farmed. The wool does not have lanolin like sheep's wool, so it's the processing doesn't take as long, it's not as complicated, but alpaca is water repellent and does not catch on fire, which are two very important properties for a clothing garment. It's used to make sweaters, scarves, blankets, and rugs. And this is sometimes easily identifiable because you can see here that there are little pictures, I guess you could call it, symbols for the alpaca animal actually on the garment. Also, the design is native to that area. It's very geometric and goes back to the native peoples of that land, so it's identifiable. It looks like it's from South America, is what I'm trying to say. So you'll also see baby alpaca. What this means is this is the wool that is harvested from the animal the very first time it's harvested. They're not taking it off a baby that's just born, but I think it's 6 months to a year when the baby alpaca grows its coat, and its first shearing or harvesting is what the baby alpaca is, and that's the softest it's ever going to be during the animal's life. So when you feel baby alpaca, it's much softer than, I don't want to say much softer. It is different than the wool from a mature animal. So during the seminar, you had a chance to feel alpaca sweaters and the alpaca wool off the animal after it had been processed. And you could really tell what a very soft material it is, by being able to feel that up close. Okay, so let's move on to camel hair. This is actually the hair from the camel. It is not wool. Camel hair has natural temperature regulating properties. It's the ideal material for any type of apparel. The way the hair grows is there's a hollow space in the center of the fiber that acts as a vacuum, and it insulates cold or hot air depending on the temperature. So it's very insulating. It's also waterproof. Now, you're not going to wear it as a raincoat, but in this picture here of this overcoat, you will see, like if you watch TV shows that are filmed in New York, you'll see people wearing this because it is great for cold climates. This type of coat or blazer is a very classic style. The color is neutral and goes with almost anything, and it lasts a very long time. So, like I watch Law and Order and Blue Bloods and shows like that that are filmed in New York or supposed to be in New York, and people are wearing these all the time. Camel hair. So it's a very classic style that it never goes out of style. Now, there are several grades of camel hair. It is often mixed with other fabrics like cashmere and wool. You're going to get the most for 100% camel hair, though. Just a word about that. When you are sourcing any type of clothing, that especially the valuable ones, cashmere, camel hair, alpaca, silk, you always want that garment tag on there that says what it's made of. You may know by feeling it that, oh, yes, this is definitely camel hair. But the problem is on eBay, you have to be able to prove it to your customer. Let's say you find one, it doesn't have the 100% label in it, you ship it to them. If they want to argue that it's item not as described, they're going to win because you can't produce any evidence that shows them this is 100% whatever. So keep it for yourself, give it to a friend. I don't even want to say sell it as a craft supply because you still have to prove what it is no matter what if you sell it on eBay. So just don't go there with it. So just a tip there. Camel hair is said to last a lifetime with no pillage or loss of shape because of the length of the fibers, double the warmth of other wool textiles, and even becomes softer with use. I can tell you that my dad, who is now 80, has been wearing the same camel hair blazers since I was born. And I'm 50. So my entire life, and he's wearing the same ones. And, every time we have a family gathering, it's like the same coat because it doesn't wear out. He's very cheap anyway, but those kind of things, this just does not wear out. It lasts forever. So that's another reason people like it. Camel hair made by LL Bean or Land's End or Brooks Brothers, any of these fine retailers that have a long, rich history. That's why they're so successful, is because they make these high quality items with high quality fibers. Now, camel hair is harvested from the Bactrian or two-humped camel, and you can see here that it's very shaggy. It has a very shaggy neck. This one is getting ready to molt, so you can see where patches of fur are missing. That's what's happening here. It does not have a disease. It is getting ready to molt. Now, this is not the camel of biblical times. You can see here that this camel doesn't have near as much hair on its neck or anywhere else on its body, and the shape is completely different. So the humps are much more pronounced on the Bactrian camel. Not that you need to know this for any reason, just it's good trivia to know that camel hair doesn't come from the kind of camels people think it comes from. Now, the Bactrian camel comes from a region called Bactria that was part of the Persian Empire, and you can see it was in a desert area there, and the climate could be very cold. People associate the desert with very hot temperatures, but it can also be very cold there, and that's why the fur from this animal who survived in this area for thousands of years is so sought after. Okay, so the fur or hair is harvested when the camel molts. Here we can see a close-up of the Bactrian camel and how much fur is on this animal. And the hair falls off in chunks. So historically, people called trailers followed behind the camels to pick up the chunks of hair as it fell off. And that's how these ancient societies used the resources around them. They raised these animals and took care of them, and then followed them around, picked up their fur when it fell off, and created processes to make it into rugs and clothing and blankets and everything they needed as far as textiles in this part of the world. So, in less technological areas, the hair is still harvested this way. People just follow the camels around and pick it up off the ground, and then they clean the hair and make it into whatever. But they're also shaved by hand. So you can see here that this is a camel that is well into molting, and the fur is just coming off in chunks. Now, the humps are not shaved as they protect the animal and help temperature regulation. Camels' temperature regulation is done through the humps, so they will leave the fur on there. For that reason, they don't want the animal to have a heat stroke and die, because guess what? Then it can't grow any more hair and they can't make any more stuff out of it and sell it, and their livelihood is affected. So they respect that and leave the hair on the humps. So the camel hair, once it is processed, and there wasn't a whole lot of information online about this process and how it's done. I did a lot of research to try to find exactly what they do to it, but I just was not able to find much, and also was not able to find samples of it in its raw form to show you. But I do have camel hair blazers for you to examine during the workshop. But anyway, it's usually this color. You've seen all these pictures I'm showing you of camel hair. It's going to be this color in 99% of cases. Sometimes it's dyed. I cannot recall ever finding anything other than this tan color. I've sold over 30,000 items on eBay since 2003, so that's a lot of stuff to have never found any camel hair that is any other color. So I'm going to say it's rare. It's most often used for coats and blazers. You may also find scarves, sweaters, hats, and gloves. And again, 100% camel hair is going to bring the highest price. So make sure that label is on there. And you just don't want to have to prove to your customer what it's made of. The synthetics are really close. Some of the other fabrics or the blends will feel just like camel hair, and you think you found one, and then you look at the content tag and it's not. So always make sure that label is on there. Okay, we have come to the end of the first segment, so we will pick up with cashmere in the next video.